Presented by Orbit People People Experience Solutions
Mr. Joseph ครับ What is Declutter Mind Coaching?
My vision or the values is more on helping people to clear up their mind so that they are at their best version of themselves. Because everyone have got their own gifts and talents and skill sets. But we often use maybe 50% of that.
Can a leader or a top executive people fails or make mistake, and how would you tackle that type of issues?
Either you can learn from the mistakes of others or you can learn from your own mistake. If you don't learn from any of these, then you potentially don't grow because you are in the same state.
I'm getting a bit nervous right now. In corporate world, people would talking about money, but you're talking about mind, so it's kind of like mind vs money. How could you combine them together and help the corporate world for them to make like some more profits to drive things forward?
Okay, that's a very interesting question.
สวัสดีครับขอต้อนรับทุกคนเข้าสู่ช่องคุยกับกงสีครับใน EP นี้ถือว่าเป็น EP ที่พิเศษมากๆสำหรับคุยกงสีแล้วก็เชื่อว่าผู้ฟังทุกท่านที่เข้ามารับชมคลิปนี้กันเนื่องจากว่าคุยกงสีเนี่ยได้มีโอกาสไปสัมภาษณ์องค์กร Forbes ระดับ global นะครับซึ่งทุกคนน่าจะพอทราบอยู่แล้วแหละว่า Forbes เนี่ยทำสิ่งที่เรียกว่าเป็นสำนักข่าวแล้วกันเป็นสื่อข่าวที่นำเสนอเรื่องของเศรษฐกิจการเมืองการบริหารกลยุทธ์ต่างๆนะครับในระดับสากลเลยแต่ว่าอีกหนึ่งสิ่งที่หลายๆท่านอาจจะยังไม่ทราบกันคือ Forbes มีอีกหน่วยงานหนึ่งครับชื่อว่าเป็น Forbes Coach Council ซึ่งหน่วยงานนี้เนี่ย Coach Council ของ Forbes เนี่ยมีหน้าที่ในการให้คำปรึกษาผู้บริหารหรือ Business Owner ที่ทำธุรกิจในระดับ global หรือว่าระดับเรียกว่า Fortune 500 นะครับที่พัฒนาทักษะการบริหารทักษะการ lead business ต่อไปได้เรื่อยๆดังนั้นเนี่ยวันนี้เพจคุยกงสีได้มีโอกาสคุยกับทางโค้ชของทาง Forbes Global ท่านนี้นะครับท่านนี้ชื่อว่า Prof. Joseph Sudhip นะครับก็เป็นหนึ่งใน coaching candidate ที่เขา certify ของทาง Forbes Coach Council เข้ามาซึ่งในครั้งนี้ครับที่ทางเพจคุยกับกงสีได้ไปสัมภาษณ์กับทาง Forbes Coach Council หรือว่า Prof. Joseph เนี่ยเขาได้มี1หลักสูตรละกันชื่อว่า Declutter Mind Certified Coach Program นะครับซึ่งเป็นหลักสูตรที่จะทำให้ผู้บริหารทุกท่านที่เข้าร่วมโครงการนี้โปรแกรมนี้มีภาวะผู้นำเพิ่มพูนมากขึ้นสามารถเข้าใจ behavior หรือว่าพฤติกรรมต่างๆของคนที่อยู่ใต้บังคับบัญชาหรือคนที่ทำงานร่วมกันกับเขาได้วิเคราะห์เรื่องของภาษากายต่างๆแล้วก็สามารถนำไปใช้ให้สร้างข้อได้เปรียบในเชิงของการเจรจาต่อรองและมากไปกว่านั้นครับทาง Professor Joseph เขายังได้ให้แนวคิดต่างๆในการพัฒนาต่อยอดให้ธุรกิจครอบครัวเนี่ยมันเติบโตต่อไปได้แต่ทั้งนี้ทั้งนั้นครับคุยกับกงสีแล้วก็ฟอร์มเนี่ยจะไม่สามารถสัมภาษณ์หรือว่าเข้ามาพูดคุยกันได้เลยหากขาดตัวกลางที่ประสานงานหรือว่าเขาเรียกว่าได้เป็นโฮสต์ของโครงการนี้ทั้งหมดนะครับซึ่งสถาบันหรือองค์กรเนี่ยเรียกว่า Orbit People Orbit People ได้ให้บริการที่เรียกว่าเป็น People Solution อย่างครบวงจรให้บริการในการพัฒนาทักษะของพนักงานพัฒนาทักษะของผู้บริหารพัฒนาทักษะของผู้นำให้มีความสามารถในการพัฒนาองค์กรต่อไปได้ยิ่งขึ้นรวมไปถึงการสร้าง corporate culture และก็ build strong team bonding ภายในองค์กรเข้าด้วยกันพวกเขายังมีโปรแกรมในเรื่องของ executive program ต่างๆที่สามารถสร้างให้กับผู้บริหารผู้นำหรือแม้กระทั่งสมาชิกครอบครัวที่ต้องการที่จะพัฒนาทักษะภายในให้เติบโตไปได้อย่างยั่งยืนดังนั้นแล้วทางคุยกับกงสีแล้วก็ Forbes ต้องขอบคุณ Orbit People เป็นอย่างมากนะครับในวันนี้เนี่ยมารับชมบทสัมภาษณ์ระหว่างคุยกงสีและ Forbes โดย Professor Joseph Sudhip กันได้เลยครับ
I would like to welcome two of our honored guests today, Professor Joseph and Mr. Grealish, for coming to Thailand in the next few months. They have valuable insight and program that would deliver and help to uplift some of your skills mindset to every people, such as executives or a person who like to improve their capabilities. Mr. Joseph, could you introduce yourself more? And I would like to know about what is Declutter Mind coaching and what are all of that background before you come here today.
Okay, thank you, Tim, for this kind introduction and allowing me to share some few words about myself. So I'm into this mindset coaching, and my company's name is Declutter Minds. So my vision or the values is more on helping people to clear up their mind so that they are at their best version of themselves. Because everyone have got their own gifts and talents and skill sets, but we often use maybe 50% of that. So my vision in life is to get to that 100% mark so that that particular individual is satisfied that yes, they have given justice to what they have been gifted with. So that's my philosophy and this thing. Now, in order to, I know mindset is a very common terminology and everyone uses it for what do's and don'ts. So I've been from the corporate world for 20 years, and then I started researching on how innovatively I can get into that 100% utilization of skill set or better version of themselves. So I started using different way of looking at it. I started researching onto the Oriental wisdom, because we in Southeast Asia, it's been a culture of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 years. And there's been a lot written about mind. And unfortunately, we have not like tapped into those resources and see how we could apply it in a corporate world to make that difference or change in human being. So that's how, with the help of my colleague Girish, we started researching and venturing into more of the Oriental wisdom, and started looking at tools and techniques on how to declutter the mind. Because how do we get into the better version of others? Once they need to rub away the clutters or the rainbows so that the sun can shine in a perfect way. So decluttering is all about removing the rainbow inside them so that they shine. And we have our own unique tools and techniques to help them remove the rainbow and get into their best version.
In corporate world, people would talking about money, but you're talking about mind. So it's kind of like mind vs money. They are two different things. So how could you combine them together and help the corporate world for them to make like some more profits to drive things forward?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So how do I look at this as, money? I don't think money and mind is like two different things. How do people make money in the world? By innovating, by having unique business models, by reimagining or reinventing things. So, and how are they able to do that? If they do in their own unique or in their normal ways, they'll be like any normal man, any averager. But to make money in this competitive world, you need to be smart. You need to be able to think differently. You need to be able to outsmart yourself. And that is where the best or better version of yourself come in. And then once you are in that state, then it's a byproduct. Money is a byproduct of the right mindset.
Okay, that's quite interesting answer, because you say mind is about innovation, mind is about recreating something new, and at the end of the day, it is you trying to outsmart yourself before you before you're working 9 to 5, but how would you make your mind more productive in that period of time? Okay, that's very insightful. So I I believe that the program that we are talking about that will be conducted on November is called the Fundamental Coaching Program, Mastering the Fundamentals of Transformative Coaching and Declutter Mind Techniques. Could you tell me more about what are the principles of this program and what will the audience or the participant will be having inside the sessions?
Okay. So the right audience would be who could enable this transition people out there. So any person in human resource department, any team leader, any manager who have people under him to make those people productive, any coaches who are helping, who are having interactions with people, any trainers. So these are the target segment who would get benefit out of this program because they become a helping hand to the end users to make them the better version of themselves, right? And our logo is like, tagline is the next orbit. How do we put them in the next orbit so that they are in their best version? So these are the people who would be ideally benefiting from this. And then what we are looking at is rather than telling like what is the benefit, I would like to look at what are the challenges which a business faces. And then what is the right solution to that? And then what is the approach which Declutter Minds gives? Because that is where, because the problem is going to be the same. It's more on what is the unique approach Declutter Minds can deliver so that it becomes a value to these people who are the handholders of the people to uplift them to the next role. So since I have been from the corporate world in 20 years, working along on an international level, what I've found out on a major scale is one is handling difficult conversations. Because in a workplace, difficult conversation is an everyday thing, whether to your colleague or to your supervisor or to your team members. Sometimes we all get into difficult conversation. So that is a major problem which needs to be addressed. And the solution is how do we peacefully resolve those conflicts? So we have a framework on how to resolve the conflict, a unique framework which I don't think anyone have actually looked at in this perspective. So that is the uniqueness of Declutter Minds. The second challenge is what we see in the team is we see disproportionate or imbalanced contribution by the team members. So then what we see is like, whoever performs well, they get really aligned to the boss, and whoever is not performers, they are like, underdogs. And then this disparity happens in an organization. And that creates a lot of confusion, tension, depression, whatever you call it, the mental things which comes up. So the best way, the solution for this understanding each personality, because what we believe is everyone is gifted and everyone have a unique personality of dealing with things. Unless we identify and understand who the other person is, we are just, will not go anywhere other than we look at them or we judge them in one perspective and then mark them good or bad. No, it's not. Everyone is unique. So understanding the personality type is again a different framework which Declutter Minds presents. And the third, the common challenge which we see in an organization world is a communication gap. Even though we have all the tool cells in the world to communicate better, effectively, instantly, still communication gap is arising as a big challenge. So how do we address this? The solution is everyone have their own dominant way of learning things. We can call it, just for example, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So there, each person's brain processes information in a particular channel. Now, without identifying, we just throw up information in whatever way we like. it doesn't mean that that other person is going to retrieve that.
Mm.
After this, we will demonstrate it to you, how it is, what is your favorite channel, so that you can check and let us know that whether it is making sense. So we will teach you how to identify what is others' dominant channel and then communicate in that manner, which makes that communication effective.
Mm.
The fourth challenge, which I've seen is, we have average performers in the corporate world. Because most of the time, 20%, the Pareto principle comes in everywhere. 20% does the 80% of thing, and 80% is just average or below average. So that's a sad state for any effective team. Now, the solution is here. The reason is the averages are not playing to their strength or their skill set. They should have been doing something else, but for so no reason, maybe they are in HR, maybe they're good at sales, or they may be good at accounting. But without knowing the skill set, if you put them in a team and then you expect to perform, everyone to be the best performers, it never happens. So we help you identify what is the skill set in each people so that you can assign the right job for that right role to the right person.
Mm.
And the fifth challenge which we address is more on what suits who is fit to each role, because the challenge is there is a misalignment to the role which people plays, or the other way, people tell, let's see, this is not your cup of tea. Why do people tell that? Because you don't see that natural flow inside them when they do some work. So we help identify what is their natural flow so that they can be aware that this is their natural flow, and then try to find the best roles which would fit them.
Mm.
So these are the challenges which the corporate faces. These are the solutions. And uniqueness of Declutter Minds is a unique perspective or approach or a framework which teaches these ideal customer segment how to handhold people and bring them to their best.
You say that people do operate in their own thinking way, but as for this program, you say that you classify people into 5 types of elements. So that's quite interesting. So could you dig down more about what are those 5 key elements of personality and how would people benefit from it?
So I would ask my colleague Girish to give a perspective on this, and maybe he can also give a demonstration on which
Sure.
personality you are.
Yeah, definitely. So first I will give a small introduction to these 5 personality types, and then we'll share my views on what your personality is.
Yep.
So this is basically based on the 5 elements principle of the Oriental wisdom. You can see the same in Chinese wisdom, Thai wisdom, Indian thoughts, etc., ancient Indian thoughts. So basically they are space, air, fire, water, and earth. These are the basic 5 elements that the universe is composed of. And we say that we are a microcosm, a small part of the entire universe. So you can find the same 5 elements in all of us. Now, each element will have its own related to physical. So, for example, someone who is a fire personality, he will be someone who takes impulsive decisions and whose words are very sharp and gets angry quite easily. That is somebody having a short temper, just like the nature of fire. Or let us say someone who is a water predominant personality, just like the adaptive nature of water. That person is easily adaptable to any situation, be it in the personal life or in the professional life. So all the attributes of the element water can be seen in that person's behavior, in his thought processes, the way he communicates, the way he responds to situations in life. So this is what that 5 element theory is all about. Now, when it comes to assessing this, We don't go by the conventional method of assessing personality using questionnaires, etc. We use the age-old method, which is an assessment of both the verbal as well as the non-verbal signals that a person constantly gives out. For example, even if you are keeping mum just actively listening to our discussion, still your body is giving a lot of signals about what kind of personality you are. Now, Tim, let us analyze your verbal and non-verbal signals and try to understand what kind of personality you are. Okay.
I'm getting a bit nervous right now.
You don't have to. You don't have to. You're not going to say anything
Yeah.
sensitive. Yeah. So basically, judging from the movements, the blinking of your eyes, the posture that you adopted, the areas in the face that you touched while speaking certain things. So we come to the conclusion that you are more of an air predominant personality. Now, you know the general attributes of air. It is always moving. It's not constant, isn't it? And it carries everything with it, isn't it? All the smell, the dust, everything. So just like that, air predominant personality is a good communicator who can take people with him, which means good at influencing, networking, etc. But now, when I say a good point, I will also say a minus point. I hope that is okay with you. So,
Fine. Yeah.
just because of this constant moving nature of air, the mind is also like that. The mind is slightly restless when compared to other people because there are a lot of thoughts going on all the time. Even when you are listening, compared to another personality type, that number of thought and the speed of thought is slightly more. So such people will always be having an element of stress even when things are going well. And they always need a kind of reassurance or rechecking. Every time, even if they are doing the same thing 100 times or 200 times, they still need a rechecking or a reassurance because that's how their mind works, which is actually good as well as bad. Good because every time you are very cautious, you check and you take a validation and you perform it. So the chances of errors are less. But there is a slight amount of stress because even if you do 10, 20, 50 times, you get good results. Still, that element of stress remains in the mind. So this is just an observation. Now, a couple of observations on how we arrived at this. I think, Tim, somebody might have already given you some feedbacks like your blink rate is slightly more compared to other people, the way you blink your eyes. So these are indicative of certain personality types, as well as some of the kind of thoughts, the thought patterns that go through your mind. And it has both benefits as well as, demerits, merits and demerits. We cannot say that one action says that you are not up to the mark. No, there is no such thing. For everything, there is a positive side as well as a negative side. And the reason why we are giving such an assessment is kind of thought patterns that always form in your mind. Why am I thinking like this? Where should I intervene in my thoughts so that I can minimize the demerits and maximize the advantages? You get an insight about yourself from an entirely different perspective. Why I'm having this tendency to think over and over again on certain issues. So once you understand that, then you can intervene in that root level, grassroots level. That is the thought level itself. And that will change your mindset, your response to challenges, the words you speak, the tone, the presentation, and each and everything, because you have made intervention in the grassroots level. That is possible only when you understand why am I doing like this, or what is in it that is prompting me to do like this. intellectually, I have learned that you have to be calm and cool and do this, but there is something inside me that is at times prompting me to think too fast, take impulsive decisions, doubt my own strength. Who is that? And why am I doing it? So this gives an idea on what the problem is, how to approach the problem, and what to do to resolve it. I hope that gives a basic idea about the 5-element theory along
Yes.
with an example.
Yes, that's a very good insight, and I think that most of you that you what's it called analyze about me is quite accurate actually, because like
Oh, thank you.
like I'm a type of guy who most of people say that I'm a good listener, because at this point it's kind of like reflect me a bit that because my body language like comprehending to their conversation and trying to absorb what they're trying to communicate. But at the same time, as you said, that because like most of the time, even though I've done this type of consultant like hundreds of people, I'm still questioning myself that am I doing it right, or would that be a best solution yet, or could I what space or improvement that I can do? So like yeah, this is quite interesting that even though that you are trying to be a coach or you're a business leader, when I think that when you're coming inside this program, you will put yourself in front of the kind of like a self-reflection, knowing about yourself. Yeah, and I would like to ask you something where Joseph or Grealish to answer this. Like you mentioned 5 key elements to kind of like people types. So can they work together and form a best team, or would it be better for a same type of person to work together and keep them distinct from each other? Sure. So yeah, about that.
So if I were to answer this, we can work and make that 1 + 1 leveraging to 11 instead of 2 or 3. But the question is, once we understand each other, now myself and Girish has been working together for last 4 years. The moment I start understanding what element he is, what is his natural skill set and what is his natural, inabilities, then I can support him when there is a shortfall, or when I need, this skill, he's skilled more than me in this area, then I can use him. So that is how we can make a team 1 + 1 = 11 leveraging. But if you don't know this, if you don't know the person whom you're working with, then you are basically working in dark. And when you walk in dark, whatever happens in the dark, it happens, right? Confusion, chaos. So the best is we need to have multi-skilled people in the team, but identifying what the other person is, being aware of that person is, that brings that magic results in our team.
Are there any difficulties for this type of principle to implement in like Thailand?
In fact, no, because it's all about human behavior and human mind. I guess even though there is a demographic difference, there is a cultural difference. Essentially, we all are made of these 5 elements, and we understand human behavior. So it is not difficult at all for someone who is not from India, who is a non-native, to understand these principles and use that successfully. Because this is just another way of looking at how mind works. It's like viewing from a different angle. And hence, it should not be posing any challenge to anyone who is a non-native. And just to add one sentence to what Mr. Joseph said in response to your earlier question, a simple analogy would be that of the 5 fingers. Each finger is different from each other. Once we are aware of the attributes of each finger, what it can be used, then we can use those fingers all together or two or three or one to get that result. So even if we are having different personality types in the same office, it is not going to pose any challenge so long as we understand what the other personality type is, what are the advantages and disadvantages, and work and behave accordingly. So, as Mr. Joseph said, understanding our own personality as well as that of others is the key.
You said that this principle is not going to be any challenge to implement inside Thailand because it's about understanding self and people. So I will assume that you might have worked into some of the client inside Thailand or in somewhere around Southeast Asia. Could you address about what are the pros and cons of Southeast Asia leaders and what are the areas that they could improve?
Well, in my opinion, there are, if you ask us the challenge, then definitely language is a challenge that we face at times. But most of the business leaders, when it comes to CEOs and senior executives, they speak good English. But at times, very rarely, language is posing a challenge. Otherwise, I don't think Southeast Asians in particular have any disadvantage. See, whether it is Southeast Asia, Europe, or India, it is a combination of advantages and disadvantages. And there is nothing peculiar to a Southeast Asian or to a European. It's all the same challenges and the same advantages that we see in people in general. In India, you can find same challenges, people with same challenges, same advantages. In Thailand also, it's the same. So I cannot make such a distinction. But let us listen to what Mr. Joseph has to say on this.
The another perspective of looking at is, I know you deal more with family businesses. And even if it is a family business or a corporate business, the 5 challenges which I did highlight about, it's there everywhere, right? And even for leaders, it's more about looking at things in a different perspective. So it's all about learning a different perspective and evolving with that and then sharing. That's how every person grow. Any leader in any part of the world, if he needs to grow, he needs to keep focusing on these 3 things: learning, evolving, and sharing. So whenever these unique techniques and unique perspectives comes, I think as a leader, they should be jumping onto this and see whether it is making sense. And if it is making sense, they should be evolving it into their personality, or they should be executing it into their day-to-day life. And once they see that magic change, then they should be sharing out to more leaders or more people in the organization. And that's how we as a society prosper.
A lot of leaders in Thailand or the business owner in Thailand or even in Southeast Asia culture, they have high tendency to be afraid or not comfortable about making mistakes. Can a leader or a top executive people fails or make mistake, and how would you tackle that type of issues and help them to overcome these situations?
Okay, so the best way to look at is either you can learn from the mistakes of others, or you can learn from your own mistake. If you don't learn from any of these, then you potentially don't grow because you are in the same state. So of course there will be a day when either someone will push you to out of your comfort zone, or you yourself have to come out of the comfort zone and see what's out there. And again, on a family business perspective, or what happens is they have there is a high probability that both gets clubbed. In office, they speak about personal, and personal, they speak about office. And it's even more confusing, and it could be even more chaotic. But the underlining thing is, even in business or in personal life, the person and personality is same. We call it that person's reality, the person's innate skill set, the innate awareness about himself, the way he carries around, whether anywhere, the innate nature is same. So once you are able to decode each person's innate nature, then it doesn't matter whether it's in office or at house. You speak one language. Most of the time, we use two different languages. And sometimes we cross use the language. And that's where the confusion or communication gaps arises. So any leader, they should step out of the comfort zone, learn from others' mistakes or our own mistake, grow, evolve, and share. I come back to my previous answer itself on the top, because if you look at the Maslow's theory of needs, go with you go with the common one, the safety level, then the next one, and finally we all get into that self-actualization pyramid, right? And which is at the top of the pyramid. And what is in that pyramid? How do people or how do leaders get into that self-actualization mode? It is more when they evolve into a different version or into a better version of themselves, and when they contribute. So leaders anywhere in the world, even in Southeast Asia, at a stage, they would reach where they would be looking for that self-actualization as per the Maslow's theory of pyramid. And this is the common language globally everyone would use.
The important question that most of the people would like to know is that what are the characteristics or key success factor of becoming a great leader and to lead a business to the future?
So for a leadership quality, when we look, there are different facets to it, right? I can share an example of a real life scenario. Everyone knows about Nelson Mandela, who took freedom for the South Africa nation. Now, there was one journalist which asked, what made you such a great leader? Because Nelson Mandela is being considered as one of the best leaders in that century. So there was a simple answer which Nelson Mandela gave. He told about his experience as a child. So his dad was one of a tribal leader, because in South Africa they have different tribes, and his dad was one of the tribal leaders. And now whenever his dad went for the tribal meeting, he used to carry this young Mandela with him. And Mandela would be sitting in the lap of his dad and then, observing what is happening. And then the one key thing which Mandela says that he observed is he always saw that his dad was the last one to speak. And then he told, he understood why it is, because once you speak as a leader who speaks last, he's able to get the feel of what is happening inside the team. Who is favoring, who is not favoring, what are each other's opinion. And by default, now the leader is in a commanding position because he knows everything what is in the mind of the person, their perspective. Now he has time to put across the things in the way which suits everyone. So listening is a key skill which leaders should possess. And it was amazingly demonstrated by Nelson Mandela with this example. And what he told was he took this into his own when he became a leader. He took the same style, always listening to people so that he understands what is in the mind of the people, and then speaking or acting appropriately, which made him like one of the greatest leaders. So another is how a leader could see beyond what is now. How can he be that visionary leader? Because if you take another example, from NASA, for years they were just sending rockets, and then it was a huge cost, right, for sending a rocket to the space. And this guy Elon Musk, what did he do? He had this radical thinking or visioning ability. The major cost, 80% of the cost for putting a satellite in the space is that rocket cost. And so what he did was, can I bring that rocket back and launch the satellite? Then I'm saving 80%. And he had that vision, which none of the best brains in NASA had, because he has that visionary, he had that vision. And then he was able to implement it through SpaceX. So again, visioning ability is a key thing, because to visualize things which has never been done. That radical thinking, radical visioning capacity, which a leader can imbibe. And unfortunately, sorry to say, all the leaders, at least 80% of the time, they're held up operationally. They might be good visionaries, but they don't have time to vision. They indulge day to day in the operational thing. And, then what difference can they make as a leader to the organization or contribute to the organization? Nil, because he doesn't have time. He's always in the back of operational issues.
Yeah. Because like most of the leader, they are stuck in operation, but they forget about the most important role, that they have to lead the company. They have to show their vision and like what next for the business. Can you tell me more about how this program will be delivered to the participant? Like, would it be online program or would it be like on-site program?
Okay, so currently we are planning an online program, which is like a 4-week one every weekend, so that people have their own flexibility to attend. Because when we look at the customer segment, HR managers, leaders, coaches, everyone is on a busy world. So we thought first we could execute online and see how it works, and then look at maybe offline. If offline is going to work out, it's a question of flying there and then doing it for a couple of days. So currently we are starting in November in online mode, and then and we do have a basic course, intermediate course, and a final level course, that expertise course. So it's the first piece. It's like a tip of the iceberg, and see how effective or how transformative it is. And then in future we will keep including newer techniques and newer tools into the program.
Perfect. So that would lead to my final question. What makes the Declutter Mind unique from other like coaching institute, and so why the participant would be interesting to join your program?
So as I mentioned, we discussed about the common challenges which industry faces, which is common. And the solution, I did explain about the solution, which is also common. So everyone knows the challenges in the industry, everyone knows the solution in the industry, but the problem or challenge still lies. Why? Because maybe some of the techniques is not effective enough. So that is where Declutter Minds become unique, because I don't think anyone have come up with these kind of tools or framework. Because we did the last 5 years, I have been researching into this Oriental wisdom deep enough to get the gems out of it, and using my 20 years of corporate world experience to map to the corporate world, so that it's like a capsule. People just need to swallow it and then implement it into their day-to-day life. So our uniqueness is a framework, the tools which we use to approach the challenges, which are the common challenges in the industry.
Yeah, so it's all about the framework and about the case study you have worked inside the industry for more like 20 years. And I believe that you work in the finance sector too, right? So that's kind of like the linkage is about your mind and the money that people are worrying about. You understand the aspect of how to make money and how to maintain money while trying to work your mind up and to becoming a more successful leaders and about yourself. Do you want to add more about something, Joseph or Gilish?
Yeah, so just to what you told, my finance background and mindset coaching. So for a outsider, it might kind of become an odd, because someone crunching numbers, playing with mindset coaching is like, two extremely different parallel lines, right? But I think I have this unique advantage, because for the 20 years I was working in the corporate world as CFO, director finance, financial controller. So I was always second in command in the organization and working closely with leaders, CEOs and functional heads and all those. So for 20 years, and since I've been working so closely, I understand the thought process. I understand how the mindset works. I understand the kind of challenges which throws up on a day-to-day basis for a CEO or a leader. So that gives me that unique advantage of knowing my customer segment better. And then because of my inquisitive research-oriented nature, for which I came up to till PhD level, gives that now I know where to focus rather than playing around, running around the bush. I exactly know where the problem is. Now with my research skill sets, I can go deeper. I know where to go and then map. So that's where it becomes a unique composition, and that's where I get a lot of clients from this Fortune 500 companies globally, because this mix and match is pretty unique.
Mr. Gilish, would you like to add something more to this note?
I guess you mean to the question of how Declutter Minds actually helps.
Yeah.
Especially in combining that wealth and money and mind, isn't it? Yeah, definitely, because we follow the ancient principle that wealth is, as mentioned by Mr. Joseph in the beginning, it's a natural consequence, a byproduct of a right mindset. So we don't call it money, because money or currency is just one form of wealth. So as per ancient Indian thoughts, wealth is of 8 types. Its currency is just one among them. And there are specific mindsets to be developed to cultivate, to attract these things. And as per these philosophies, we don't chase wealth, we attract wealth. And that attraction is possible only by decluttering the mind and shaping it in the right manner. So in that way, Declutter Minds can play a good role in attracting wealth through the right mindset and actions that align with those different kinds of mindsets.
I think that what you mentioned here is money is just one of the small section of wealth. So
exactly.
What you have to do as a leader or yourself is not to addressing or how to make money, but how to improve your wealth by not seeking for it, but to attract it.
Attract it.
Exactly. So how would you do that? Inside the program, this program will facilitate you of how to, and throughout all of your case study and frameworks. Am I
exactly
incorrect, right?
How does a flower chase a honeybee? No. The honeybee gets attracted to the flower. Why? Simply because the flower has that metal in it. That metal in the sense METTL, that it has that core honey in it. So people come chasing for that. The flower doesn't make any attempt to attract anything. It is just becoming by its own innate nature, just focusing on who it is. It is attracting honeybees. Similarly, there is no need to chase money, chase wealth. Just be yourself. Just declutter your mind. Align yourself with your innate nature. And all wealth you can attract. There is no need to chase at all.
And so I think that would be all about the program. So I believe that this program would benefit to either like coaching personnel, business leaders, executive management team, or just for a person who would like to improve themselves. So yeah, I think that we'll see you next time, both of you, Mr. Joseph and Mr. Grealish.
สำหรับผู้ที่สนใจ Declutter Minds Certified Coaching Program จัดโดย Declutter Mindset Coaching The Next Orbit และ Orbit People Experience Solution สามารถติดต่อสอบถามและขอรายละเอียดเพิ่มเติมได้ที่ www.orbit-people.com หรือติดต่อได้ตามเบอร์ที่ปรากฏ